Good evening, everybody. How's it going? It's me, Comic Crack, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a game I got in the mail the other day. Got a couple of things from the Emperors of Eternal Evil, and we've spoken about them before. We'll have a look at some of the games that they've done. Kind of talk about the magazine games specifically. Actually, there's a there will be a video coming about this at some point. This is kind of a module or one story from this RPG, this role-playing game called Troika, which is just, I'll give you a little sneak peek here. So this particular module is about a murder mystery that you kind of take your characters through. But this whole Troika system looks like a lot of fun because there's some very kind of imaginative art that's going on in here. Kind of Brandon Graham meets Mobius-ish type of thing. So I'm still reading about this system. There's a lot to kind of digest. I'm not an RPG person in the past, so it's going to be a kind of new thing. I'm actually thinking of trying to do it with the family and trying to make it a little more interactive, where maybe we do like a watercolor painting as we're going and exploring and things. So we'll have some art alongside it once we're done kind of the game. So look out for that video in the future. And if you want to know more, it's oh, there we go. Focus. The Melsonian Arts Council is what they call themselves. And if you just type in Troika game on the Google device there, it should bring you to something. So that one's coming in the future. So with that, the Emperors had a sale going on just after Christmas. I get. Oh no, it was sometime around Christmas anyway. Maybe it was just before Christmas. So I picked up a game. I picked up that book and bought a cassette from them as well too. And those came like a week or so ago. And I've read the rules for the game that we're going to look at for a little bit there. But just wanted to talk about them a little bit more, as I usually do when we do these videos. I love to focus on some of these companies and some of these designers and some of these groups of weirdos who are just doing some unbelievable stuff that I'm an enormous fan of. So starting out with kind of like the OG. So they've done a bunch of, the thing with these guys is they design all sorts of games. So magazine games, board games, they sell other people's games on their website. They do music. They have kind of noise, experimental, heavy metal, synth driven music. They'll release tapes of their friends. They even do like DVD-Rs. Damon Packard is one of the guys that they sell some of his movies, amongst other people. But so it's really kind of an all-around kind of art collective, I guess. So this is the one that kind of started it all for me and our family, this Cave Evil. So Rotten, yeah, Rotten, is it Rotten Shape? Rotten Shape is the name of the kind of record label that they use when they put out these releases. This was online at first, so you could play Cave Evil and just listen to a random mix Cave Evil radio. And they eventually put it out on cassettes. So and then one of the kind of, I don't remember, it's been so long since I've listened to this one. It's black metal, but I think it might be more synth driven if I remember. Is it Khand, I think is what it is, Khand. So that's another one of the tapes they put out. And on Halloween, they usually like to do something on Halloween, normally a magazine game. But one year there was Gravedigger's Greatest Hits, like, I don't know, a couple hours worth of music and weird effects. And, you know, this Gravedigger host, kind of like an old Wolfman Jack type of host. And they do a really nice job on the tapes themselves too. So. And the one that I grabbed this time was for one of the magazine games, their first magazine game, actually, Psycho Raiders. which we'll have a quick look through. So the premise of most of these magazine games, the horror magazine games anyway, is that it's supposed to simulate a kind of slasher type horror movie. So the idea is that if you're playing kind of the humans, you don't really stand much of a chance. You're really fighting for survival. And if you're playing the kind of in this case, the psychopath kind of family, you can do all sorts of stuff. The premise of the games is usually just to escape off the map, or at least it is with Psycho Raiders and the new one we're going to look at. You just have to get the hell out of there while you're hidden, and we'll talk about some of those things. So when they've done a lot of magazine games, and then they did a folio game, which we've looked at on my channel before, Rocky Mountain Man, which is their solo game. A lot of fun. Again, all of this stuff is highly recommended. So here's the first horror magazine that they put out. This is for Psycho Raiders. I won't pull everything out, but just to give you an idea. So when you've got a magazine, they've got ads, they've got art, they've got comic strips, they've got the game itself too, and all the rules for it. Even got a pinup. More rules there, and there's the comic strip. So each of these gets kind of like a comic strip to bring you into the story itself. And I'm blanking on his name right now, and I apologize for that. Charlie Fogel is the artist's name who does the comic strip. So just to kind of really get you in the mindset of the basic premise of the game before you dive in. You get some comics to read, and then you jump right into the game. I won't pull each of these out, but it's probably, I haven't played the new one yet, but out of the horror magazine games so far, I think this one is by far my favorite. I don't know if it's because it's the first one. I really like the premise of it. It's a hell of a lot of fun to play. It really does become kind of like just this you're really just fighting for your life. You're screaming. You're trying to get the attention of some of the locals to try to help you, except that the locals, unbeknownst to you, the locals might be part of kind of the psychopath family. Whoever's playing that family gets to do random roll a die, and randomly it'll choose one or two of the a couple of the bystanders or the townspeople, and it'll turn them, and they can let you play them for as long as you want before they reveal that it's one of the bad guys. So the whole theme of these magazines and the game itself really comes through, really sets a fantastic tone. The next one that they did took place at kind of like a sideshow circus, Freak Face. I think my son and I played this only once or twice. It was okay. It wasn't our favorite. We found it pretty difficult as far as just maneuvering through the map. The content, it was fine, but it just didn't kind of grab us. This one just didn't grab us as much, so we haven't really revisited this one. Sea Evil, we've played a few times. I've played it solo as well too, figured out a way to play it solo. This is a lot of fun. This one, you're on a ship kind of maneuvering through the water, and you just have to make it through to a lighthouse. There's some tracks on the top and the bottom of the map that set your direction and how far you are from the lighthouse. And while you're moving, you have your ship mates and everything kind of either manning the sails or kind of preparing or repairing leaks down below, and you're getting attacked by all sorts of sea creatures and monsters. It's super fun. The ship movement itself, especially when it starts to move position or change position or on the map, is a little difficult to get behind, but once you kind of get a handle on it, it's a super fun game. They also did for this magazine called Lurker, and this is another solo game. This was actually their first solo game, I think. I think this one came out before Rocky Mountain Man. Yeah, it did. This is the one that we've looked at on the channel before. Excuse me, sorry. The House on the Borderlands, we've talked about that one. Incredibly fun. I've played this one quite a few times. I absolutely love this. And if you're into kind of role-playing and heavy metal and stuff, this Lurker magazine has a couple of issues. Oh, there's the map there. Super thick magazine. again, filled with articles, reviews of music, articles about or interviews with some bands, and I think some game designers and things too. I should actually pull this out and have another look at it again. But lots of like RPG and heavy metal, basically throughout this magazine. Oh, so super fun. I think, is there 2 or 3 issues of this now? Yeah, worth checking out. So Lurker magazine, and I'm pretty sure they have their own website. So this one's from spring 2020. So if you want to get your hands on that game, it's you can get it through Lurker. Actually, I'll deal with that later. So my wife, Ghostface, how's it going? My wife had a subscription to Fangoria magazine for a while. And at one point, it was revealed by the fellas that they were going to have a game included with the magazine. So this is the issue. And what you get here, what they give you is kind of the comic strip that sets up the premise for the game. They actually offered it as a free downloadable print and play. The print and play is still available. So if this is one of these videos where you actually don't have to buy anything, if you just go to Emperors of Eternal Evil, you can get all the files, you can get all the kind of standees and cards that you'll need and the map, and you can print it out yourself and play. It is a multiplayer game, so it's not a solo game. I'm sure you can, if you're kind of a halfway experienced gamer, you can figure out a system to randomize stuff. Maybe randomize movement depending on which side you want to play, maybe randomizing movement of the other kind of players. So really amazing that they got kind of coverage in Fangoria. Hopefully that paid off for them in the long run. I can't imagine that it did them any harm anyway. So when they revealed that they were going to make another horror game magazine out of this, it's let the wolves don't let the wolves eat our baby is what the game is called. And this is so horror magazine game issue number 4. Not as kind of dense as the other magazines, but they added some extra pages to it than what were before. And same kind of thing. You get the comic strip for the first couple of pages, and then you dive into the game. The premise is that you're a family, and your car has broken down, and all of a sudden on the horizon, you get this family that's led by kind of this naked man, and they have some wolves, and they're going to just fuck you up. The interesting thing about this one, so the system that they use for these games is all pretty much the same system with some tweaks. This one is very, very similar to Psycho Raiders, which is one of the things that gives me such high hopes about playing this game, that we're going to end up with something very close to that first game. It's a great, easy to understand system. As far as like when we talk about some of these games sometimes on the channel, you hear me talking about 30-page rules and going back and really having to analyze things, and this is absolutely not that. This is very kind of straightforward. I personally think it's pretty easily accessible to anybody kind of getting into gaming or knowing a little bit of gaming. So same kind of idea. You just have to escape off of the map. We'll look at the map in a minute. You just have to escape off of the map with one of your characters while you're hidden. So one of the mechanics in the game is you have 2 standees. In this case, there's 2 kind of characters. So once you're out of the opponent's line of sight, hiding in the trees, hiding behind some rocky hills, you can choose a hide action, which lets you duplicate your character. One of them is the real you, one of them is the fake one. You got to write down the one, and there's a little bit of just honesty involved. So when the opponent is trying to attack you, you have to then reveal if that's the real you or not. So while you're hidden, you have to escape off the map with just one of your characters. The neat thing about this one is that in the comic, the daughter gets really fucked up. So she starts in the game with very low stats, and you have to roll a die. And if you roll a 1, her bleeding stops. Any other roll, and you have to subtract that number just from a d6. You have to subtract that number from her stats, and if her stats go to 0, she's dead. Which is, I think, pretty great. A great way to start it. So you have the family here. There's the baby, obviously, the mother and the father, and the son, and then the daughter. And then these are our random characters that could end, or some of the random characters that could end up in the game. As usual, we get a little centerfold, and then you get the family here with another couple of random players, and then some vehicles. You can drive vehicles in the game as well too. You can use the vehicles as weapons. You can try to run into some of the opponents with your car. And then the rest is as it is before, some comic strips, some crazy ass art, some ads for places, including DVDRparty.com. Honestly, I can't recommend DVDR Party enough. So great. He's been around for a long time, selling all sorts of incredible stuff. And the last year, when I kind of got to play and just kind of attend some of these online noise fests, he helped compile those performances and put them on DVDs for people. So that was the God Waffle Noise Pancakes and the brutal sound effects and that sort of thing. So a lot of fun, but so definitely check them out. And then a bunch of ads for other things K-Vivo related. Plague TV, which looks like that there's going to be a season 3. It was a Twitch channel that started up where he would have just kind of weekly, the designer, Nate Hayden, one of the designers rather, Nate Hayden, would have these hangouts where he would just show music videos, he'd show movies, TV shows, that sort of thing. It was a lot of fun, actually. Really made that early days of the pandemic, all this stuff that was happening online with all of these guys, really made the beginning of the pandemic more bearable, just to kind of, amongst everything you were trying to do to kind of stay sane, this stuff really had a good handle on it. And then a text piece by a guy, Clayton Cozart, who I think was also part of that Plague TV too. I think he was there once or twice reading some of his stories. So we get a 3-page short story from him. And that's pretty much it. So we'll have a look at the map. Pretty small map compared to some of the other games. Like the centerfold of a magazine, basically. So all of your characters start down here, and they're kind of marked on the map itself with their positions. So you can see the car there with the headlights. So you've skid off the road. Your family starts in that car. You can see the blood around the car where the sister has started to get pulled out of the car and has been impaled on some glass. So I can only imagine that the best way to start this game is to start this damn car and just drive as much as you can. You can only drive on the road, so get that vehicle on the road and try to get as far as you can. The vehicle at kind of top speed, I think, gives you 8 movement points. Every time you hit these lightning bolts, you have to roll a die. On a D6, on a 5 or a 6, you skid off the road and you end up in the snow again. So I think the strategy for this one, playing the family, is just to kind of get as far as you can in that car and then run like fucking hell. So very simple kind of terrain, nothing too complicated when it comes to the map. And then up at the top of the map here, you can see somewhere, yeah, there it is. There's the cabin up here. So there's kind of one last person that you can yell. There's an action in here. One of the actions that you can take on your turn is you can scream. And it's a Yeah, screaming is a free action basically, so it doesn't cost you anything. You can scream once per turn, and if you roll doubles, you roll 2d6. If you roll doubles, then you've alerted somebody. Then you roll another d6 to find out what direction, and then that number is how many hexes away they are. So again, as the kind of survivors, just screaming out into the night just to see if there's anybody around that's going to come and kind of save you, is a really neat idea as well. And then the terrain effects. There's a spot for the weather as well too. So yeah, I'm super, super excited about this one. Hex Pillar, how you doing? Gosh, I miss games where I live now. None of my crew have much interest in tabletop gaming. Yeah, that's really too bad. It's kind of the same here. Thankfully, I have a son that's really into this stuff, and my daughter and my wife really depends on what it is. They'll get into it as well too, because it's the same. Some of the like I have some friends who are gamers for sure, but it's pretty specific types. Some of this stuff is maybe a little too much out of their wheelhouse. And we'll just kind of quickly go through the rest of the stuff. So I printed up the character sheets. They have the files available online, just so you can kind of pencil and eraser and track their stats. Sticker that he threw in there. Let's see. So let's have a look at a couple of the cards here. So this is the kill deck. And a similar, this kill deck appeared in Psycho Raiders too. But one of the things with the kill deck in Psycho Raiders was that if you, actually, let's look at that one last. If you, once your stats were done, you pulled a kill card. And if that kill card matched what was currently going on for your character, then you'd die. But if the kill card didn't match the way that you had just been taken out of the game, you kind of got a second chance. I believe you got to add 2 stats to any statistic on your character sheet and kind of have one last chance. So the idea being that you're almost at the end of the map. Are you quite dead? Not quite dead yet. I got one more chance. I can run 2 more hexes and hopefully try to just haul my ass off the edge of the map. This one's different. You just draw a kill card and that's the way that you've died. From what I understand from the rules, the big difference in it is that, and we'll get to the card right away, they're just ghoulish, grisly cards from all of these outstanding artists. The difference is there's one in here that says missed. And if you draw this one, reshuffle the discards and from now, and then form a new kill deck. So I think this is the one that you pull. If you draw this one, that's when you get to kind of add those 2 stats. This is the only one that gives you that kind of second chance. And then you reshuffle the cards. So the kill deck. Hello, Scott Connor. How you doing? Let's take a few of these out. So for the characters themselves, there's also, let me organize this here. For the characters themselves, they each start out with a different weapon. So the character is on one side, and then you flip it over. And in this case, he's got a pistol. And then there's 4 different hexes. So if you're on the same hex as your opponent, you get a plus 12. If you're 1 hex beside him, you get an 11. If you're 2 hexes away, you get a 9. And then 3 hexes away, you get a 6. Come on, focus there. So that kind of, and if you're any further, then there's nothing. So basically, you know, you're shit out of luck. You got to be pretty close to them. Here's the sun. The sun starts out with a scout knife, and in order to use it, you got to be on the same hex as them, and it just adds 2 to your strength. So you take that 2 and add it to your strength. And it's a very simple system for the combat. It's just rolling die and then adding it to either your weapon or just to your character's strength. whoever has the highest number wins, and then the differential just gets subtracted from the other person's statistics. So if one player rolls a 10 and another rolls a 14, that 4 will just get taken off of the loser's stats, basically. And I think there's probably stuff. Oh yeah, here's a good one too. A rifle. So this one sort of has different to it. Focus, please. If you're in the same hex, you only get a +8. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be focusing there. There we go. And if you're 1 hex away, you get a 10. 2 hexes away, you get a 12. So you got to have a little bit of distance with this one, which is great if you can get your hands on it and try to pick them off from the bush or something like that, from the tree line. And then the other difference with this game is normally they just have counters, they have chits. In this one, he decided to do some standees this time, which is pretty great. They're very tiny. I don't know if it will focus up there, but this is one of the characters that might kind of make it into the game, kind of like a Sasquatch, Bigfoot type of character. So little standees to put onto the map itself. What else? Oh, and there's also once per game abilities. Oh yeah, so here's there's also weather tokens as well too. This one is Blizzard. So each team gets 3 once per game abilities, and for the family, for example, your once per game is you get a +4 to adrenaline, which you can use for movement, just to give you that extra push of wanting to get the fuck out of there. Once a game, you can dodge 1 attack as the family, so that's good. And then for the bad guys, their classic one that happens in Psycho Raiders as well. Once per game, you can have one of your characters appear anywhere on the map, which is just amazing. You know, again, like the idea of these 80s slasher movies, some of the tropes that happen in those movies, that stuff really resonates. A use like that, I think, is really fantastic. So that's pretty much it. That's the game. So again, this one is free online. So if you do a search for Emperors of Eternal Evil, or maybe is it Pit of Infinite Shadows, I think is what it is. If you search for Don't Let the Wolves Eat Our Baby, something should come up. And there will be a link under the games where you can get all the files for free, and you can print them off yourself. The rules and everything is available for free as well. But if you do want to buy a physical copy, I think they still have plenty of them available on their website as well too. But I definitely wanted to highlight some freebies. It's just a fucking grisly image. It's just fantastic, you know. Not for the squeamish, obviously, but if you're a fan of horror movies and slasher movies, this will be right up your alley, especially if you're a gamer on top of that. So support good old Mold Head. Yeah, Hex Pillar, free, absolutely. Free. I was saying before you got here, they had a deal with Fangoria magazine. So in their Christmas issue, what was it, 2020? I don't know. January 2020. So this is the January 2020. This is the one they gave you in the center. You got the comic strip, and then there was information and a link to where you can download the file. So they made a deal with Fangoria to offer kind of like, here's a freebie to offer your readers of your magazine. So a really, really cool thing to do. But because I am who I am, I do like getting the actual magazine itself. Guys, thanks very much. It is a lot of fun. Hex Pillar, I can't wait to get into this one. I'm waiting till my son is over on the weekend, and then we're going to try to get this to the table and play this with him. I think he'll appreciate it the most because we played Psycho Raiders together a few times. So we'll have to randomize who gets to be the bad guys because, like I said, pretty damn good chance that the bad guys are just going to kill this family. Thanks very much for hanging out, Ghostface 1001, Hex Pillar, and Scott Connor. Nice to see you guys, and we'll talk to you.